Mr. Spencer, congratulations on your nomination, and thank you for accepting the call of duty of your country once again. I want to associate myself with the remarks of Senator King about the amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act on the Budget Control Act. The Budget Control Act must be repealed. It has not worked. It has not restrained spending, and it will not in the future. I think we all know exactly what will happen if it goes forward. We'll have a continuing resolution in September. We'll have some two-year budget that doesn't restrain spending in November, and then we'll have an omnibus in December. Then we'll have another omnibus in December of 2018. Then the whole thing will be started over again in 2019 and 2020. All for a bill that no one, from Senator Fisher to my right and Senator Donnelly and to his left, voted for. 112th Congress was not the Constitutional Convention, and the Budget Control Act is not the Constitution. My question, just to be clear, is can you build a 350-ship Navy if the Budget Control Act remains in force?
No.
Thank you for that. Is the President's budget request sufficient to build that 350-ship Navy if the Budget Control Act is repealed?
It would depend upon the timeline you would be giving the future Secretary of the Navy as a goal. Thank you.
I have to say, Mr. Spencer, that the morale and welfare of sailors and Marines is of utmost concern for me. Your predecessor displayed what I think is questionable, indeed strange judgment on some matters that left him as one of the most unpopular service secretaries of the modern era. Just to go through a few of those decisions, he politicized the naming of U.S. Navy ships. He made some very strange changes to the Navy uniform that caused a revolt among female sailors. He publicly dismissed official reports about combat effectiveness of mixed-gender units without even having to read them by his own admission. He dumped the Navy's ratings titles, some of which, like boatswain's mate and gunnery's mate, had been around for 200 years. He tried to power Navy fleets with unproven, expensive, and inadequate fuel alternatives based on current technology, in some cases at the cost of $28 to the gallon. And he questioned the character and integrity of Marines who dared to disagree with some of these policies. I think it's unfortunate that you've inherited this legacy, and it's going to make it somewhat hard as you start out to restore the credibility of the Secretariat. But do you think making these kind of changes is going to enhance the Navy's ability to deter war and, if necessary, fight and win war?
Senator, I testified before this committee, I believe in 2015, that it was my belief that the Department of Defense, specifically individual services, was not to be a petri dish for social experiments. I totally believe that policy should be developed at the DoD level and then discussed and socialized and deployed and then obeyed. We have to work together, including all our service people, to make sure that they are given what they need, whether that be spiritually, whether that be psychologically, whether that be materialistically, to fight forward so readiness is the key and lethality is the product.
Thank you for that answer. I agree. I think pretty much every sailor and Marine that you'll have serving underneath your leadership would agree that our foremost priority has to be to deter our nation's adversaries and fight and win our nation's wars where necessary. I want to turn to a particular matter now in the time I have left, Mr. Spencer. Last month, the Navy revoked the license of a contractor that they had long used to do base security for civilian vendors. The change was sudden and concerning to me. After incidents of shootings and terrorist attacks on military installations, I'm concerned that the Navy is fixing something that isn't broken. Could you please be sure to review the contracting plan for base access and get back to me about why the Navy took this action and what its plans for base security going forward are?
If confirmed, Senator, I will.
I don't want you to do anything that would presume confirmation, even though it seems like a pretty good bet so far this morning. Thank you, Mr. Spencer, again for your willingness to serve our country.
Thank you, Senator.